Hey everyone, Wonderbeard Ministries here. I'm very excited that I'm starting this fundraiser, and I want to tell you all about it, and I want to tell you why it matters. Number one, I want to start with the details of the fundraiser. So we are doing a fundraiser for Cincinnati Children's Hospital, specifically the Pediatric Intensive Care Unit. Now, I'll be honest, I wanted to do even more, but I'm a little nervous because this first type of fundraiser thing I've done, I don't have a very large following, so I'm hoping this works out well. If not, I'm going to give money and I'm going to do whatever I can to provide toys for these kids during this time, because we've been there. We understand how it can be. Luckily, ours was not at Christmas, but still, it's very hard when you get stuck in this situation. So I want to tell you a little bit about it. So I'm currently waiting on all the details of how many beds and everything, but my plan is to do about $20 per child. The PICU unit is not massive, so I don't think it would take a lot of money to do that, but I want to make up a nice little gift bag for each kid. And we're going to do just some unisex stuff, toys that boys and girls would like to play with, because obviously for HIPAA law reasons I can't even know genders. I can't know that specific. It's just going to be simply a bed count and an age range. So I'm going to be receiving all of that information, and I'll update you all on that later. But right now, here's what we do have. We have until December 10th. So that's it. After that, donations can no longer be taken. I'll probably have to take this video down and other videos that I make. The first video I make, the short or TikTok, whatever you've seen first, will probably have to come down so I don't keep getting donations. But we have until December 10th. The reason for this is because I'm leaving one day where me and Rachel can go shopping and get tons of stuff for these kids, December 11th. And then we have to have all the donations brought to the hospital and everything by December 12th. That's the last day they accept them. So we have to do it by then. Now, what am I expecting from this? Honestly, I just want to try and provide as much as we can, because I know that it's going to make an impact. It doesn't even matter what we get. Just the fact that we think about these people, the fact that we are thinking about their scenario, is why we're going to do this. Now, the reason I chose the PICU, I originally was going to do both the NICU and the PICU. But when I spoke to the gentleman on the phone from Cincinnati Children's, he was telling me, well, if you have a small following, maybe start with just one and all of these things. And he told me that the NICU is actually the third highest donated to. The PICU is not even in the top 10. Or that's, I believe what he said, top 5 or top 10. But anyways, the PICU is a bigger need, so we're going to provide there. Now, there are some specifics about what kind of toys we can get, so that's kind of why I'm just asking everybody to send money. It's going to go through my Cash App. I'm going to be very open and honest about every single dime. I'm going to show you the amounts we get as we go through this journey. I'm going to update multiple videos up until this point. And I want to make sure that you all know that I am spending all of it on toys that need to be provided. We're going to have a video of us dropping them off. Unfortunately, we can't drop them off directly to the kids. Once again, a HIPAA law violation and kind of for the safety of the children. Totally understandable. So that's the plan. The plan is that we go through this fundraiser. I'm going to have my Cash App on the screen for this whole video so that you know exactly where you can donate. If you're not familiar with Cash App, it's very easy to use. You just have to sign up, link a bank account, and then you can send money however much you want, however much God calls you to send. I'm not asking for massive donations. You don't have to donate even $10. Donate $5, donate $1. Anything you can donate is a help to the cause. That's it. If we got 1,000 strangers to donate $1, it's $1,000 for these kids. That'll make such a difference. So I thank you for whatever you can send. And if you can't send, just pray for us. Just pray that this goes well. Pray that we can have an impact on people, and pray that we can even maybe change lives in this process. You never know what somebody's going through. A simple toy could make such a splash in their life, such a difference that matters. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about our experience, and if you already know this, feel free to click off the video by this point, but I'm going to tell 2 stories. Number 1, our experience with my son Andrew, which I've got videos up on the channel, so I'll make it short. And number 2, my experience with my oldest son Matthew when he went to the PICU. So number 1, Andrew. So Andrew was born back on August 3rd, and everything seemed fine initially until we got to right before the birth. When my wife's water broke, they noticed meconium in the water. And so what ended up happening is they thought, he was going to have meconium in his throat and everything, and he did. And they suctioned him, but they said, we don't think we got all of it, so he might sound a little raspy and stuff over the next day or 2. So we didn't think much when he was breathing kind of funny initially the next day. But by the time we were about to leave, I had already packed all the bags away. Everything was set. We were ready to leave the hospital. Suddenly, he starts breathing really funny. And I mean, when I say funny, I mean it was really bad. He was cranking his neck back and forth to breathe. And this is a newborn, not even a full day old yet. And so I called the nurse in, and they immediately took him. They observed him for probably around an hour, still on the mom and baby unit. And that's when they told us, you're not leaving today. And so, sorry, I still get emotional talking about this. So they told us that we weren't leaving, and they moved us to the NICU unit that night. And he spent the next month in the NICU. During this time, we saw things that we will never forget. Sitting there knowing that there are other little babies laying around, and like they're dealing with so much worse conditions, that there are parents that their kids are going to be in there for months, made us feel so guilty about the fact that we were devastated about our child being there, and he wasn't in near as bad as condition. But we felt guilty for grieving the way we needed to grieve, even though I say grieving, but going through this process. And it was hard. It was extremely hard. The emotional stress, the trauma of one day being good and the next day bad, and one day being good again and the next day bad, and just the roller coaster of emotion. And one sound you never forget is sitting in that NICU and hearing the monitors go off, whether it be simply for an irregular heartbeat, maybe too high or too low, respiratory, if it's too many respirations in a minute, too little of respirations. You hear these monitors go off, and you actually become accustomed to know what sound it is, to know what the condition is. It was hard. It was very hard. So our experience ended up being very difficult, but it ended up in a good thing. It ended up where, we ended up meeting a lot of people. We ended up having a testimony to share. We ended up witnessing to a lot of families there. And I think it overall was for the good of God. I mean, I think it was for the glory of God. And it was, weirdly enough, a great experience. It was terrible to have to go through, but now looking back on it, it's something that we can say God brought us through. Our faith made it where we could rely on God. We could go through this knowing that no matter what happened, God was in control. And it really helped so much in that scenario. And being able to have that level of faith, it really strengthens you. I heard this earlier today, you realize the goodness of God, you realize the power of God when you are asked to carry a cross that's too heavy for you to carry, and He carries it for you. That is exactly true for what this experience was. And we even saw a miracle in the way that Andrew was healed from it. He had been in around 3 weeks, and he got to a really bad point where 2 weeks, and it got to a really bad point where he was going down a bad track, and they were talking about all the different bad possibilities and stuff. And then all of a sudden, we came in one Saturday, and they told us, well, we think we're gonna have to keep him in here for months. They said at least weeks, but maybe months. And they said all we can do right now is set him on a certain level of oxygen. It was level 6 oxygen flow, and I think it was 65% O2 concentration, something like that. And they said we're gonna keep him on this for at least a couple days, maybe a week, and we'll see where he goes from there. And when they said this, me and my wife Rachel, we had to go out to the car, and I screamed, she cried, and we just went to God. We just prayed, and we said, God, this is too much for us to bear. We need your help. We need you to help us. We need you to show us your strength. And I hate to say this because I know it sounds kind of selfish. It sounds like I'm expecting of God. But I actually said in a prayer to God, I said, you want me to preach about the miracles. You want me to preach about what you can do. Give me a reason. Show me what you can do. And boy, he did. The very next day we came in and his oxygen level was down to 5 for the flow. Then 4 the same day, only about an hour later, while we were still at the NICU. The next day, 3. And then he progressed more, and then I think it was a day or two later, 2. And he kept progressing and progressing. And over the span of the next 2 weeks, he would go to Good Sam, nearly graduating from there, and then over to Cincinnati Children's, where we went to the PICU there. Now I want to talk about Cincinnati Children's PICU because the work they do there is fantastic. The work that they do at Good Sam is fantastic too, don't get me wrong. But knowing that Cincinnati Children's deals with some of the harder cases, knowing that they deal with, it was the NICU, that they deal with the situations that Good Sam can't and that other surrounding hospitals can't. It's incredible. And I saw the live reactions of when they heard a certain code go off. I'm not going to give the code or anything, but it was a certain code that meant a child was in distress, life-threatening distress. The running, you had people full-on sprinting. Usain Bolt could not have beat them to these rooms. That is the level of care these people took. And I tell you, they did a fantastic job. They took care of families. They took care of the kids. Good Sam did too, don't get me wrong. But like I said, they have to deal with the situations that Good Sam can't deal with, that other hospitals can't deal with. It is a very, very hard thing. I work with the elderly. I work in nursing homes. I can tell you, there are heartbreaking situations where you feel moved, you feel drained, you can't do anything because you're just devastated about what you see. But the thing is, I can only imagine what it's like with babies, yet these people show up to work every single day ready to go, ready to help people, ready to help these babies and save lives and all of this. There is no amount of praise that I can give them that's worthy of it, that's worthy of the job they do. They do so fantastic. So the NICU experience was very hard. The PICU experience with Matthew, when this happened, it was March 30th or 31st, I forget exactly, but it was 2018. The Reds were actually holding a special Kids Opening Day weekend, and me and Matthew and Rachel were supposed to go to it. We were actually going to meet my childhood favorite player, one of my childhood favorite players, Danny Graves. And basically what happened is a day or two before it, he started breathing kind of funny. And it was very labored, heavy breathing and stuff. So we took him into the emergency room that night. And they said, well, we think it's just something in his airway or something. We're going to suction him, like wall suction him. And we're going to see what happens. And he should be okay to go. So they do it, and he seems a little better at first. So they say, yeah, you guys can go home. You're discharged. The very next day, though, we had to take him right back into the hospital. And it was worse. And the person at the front desk said, yeah, we shouldn't have let you guys leave last night. And they took him back to triage, and during this time they were telling us, we think it's bronchiolitis, which is basically I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I think it's a lot like bronchitis in children. Um, it's just, it can be very harsh on young children especially. And they said, we need to stage where he's at, because he could either get admitted and go to a different unit, or he could go to the PICU if it's bad enough. Well, you guys already know where I'm going with this. It got bad enough. One of the worst moments of my life was sitting in the triage room, and the doctor's explaining that if he went over a certain level of oxygen, and I want to say it was like level 11 or 12, that he would have to go to the PICU. About 15 minutes later, a nurse walks in, doesn't say a word to us. She walks straight over to his O2 and just cranks it up to 13. And I swear to you, at that moment, we just bawled. Me and Rachel just broke down completely in tears, couldn't do anything. We had to just entirely rely on God. And all of this was so sudden. Everything happened so fast, and it was hard to grasp. And so what ended up happening is, the very first night that we were there, we got moved up to the PICU, and once again, fantastic care. I mean, they are incredible. And it was so sad to see, but we had this little, I'd call it a crib, I guess. It was a bed crib where they had these see-through, like, window curtains where you could place the baby in and close it up, where you can see them, but they're safe. They're laying there safe and everything. And it was so hard. It was so difficult, because the very first night, Matthew was laying there and could not fall asleep with everything connected to him. He just cried and cried. So I stayed up all night just holding him and just crying and just praying to God, just praying, saying, like, let my son be okay. Spare him. Take me instead. Spare him. You know, these kind of things. I was saying to God all night, just praying over him. By morning, me and Rachel decided we were going to take turns getting breakfast, and then I was going to get some sleep. Well, what ended up happening is, I think I went to breakfast first, and I'll never forget, I walked out onto the unit, and I don't know how to describe it, but when you walk onto that PICU unit, it's kind of rounded, like you walk past other people's rooms, and I don't know, I guess God just told me, look in that room. And there was a room with the door open. And I'm not going to give any specific information here, so this shouldn't be a violation of HIPAA law in any way. But there was a young child laying there, and it was a boy. It was a boy. I will say that. It was a young child laying there, and he had had a trach tube put in. He was maybe, I don't know, he was very, very young. Very young. I'd say at least somewhere in the range of 5 to 8. I don't know. It was quick, but somewhere in there. And anyways, he had just had this trach tube put in. I could tell by the bandaging around it and everything. And I looked over, and here is his mom just fully embracing him. And I'm looking, and I can just see her smile ear to ear. And it broke me. Because here I was, really struggling to have faith in God. Really struggling when I'm sitting there thinking, like, well, why does this have to happen to us? You know, why do we have to go through this? Why does my son have to be here? And I'm looking over, and this woman will probably never hear her son say, I love you again. She probably will never get to hear his laugh again. When he goes to get married, she won't be able to hear him say I do unless he gets it out before then. If I don't know his exact situation. And I'm questioning God, and my son's still in decent shape. I mean, it was scary. It was bad. They did tell us there was a chance we walk out without him, but it was heading in a good direction. Things weren't all that bad. You know, it wasn't a life-changing thing already. It was something that could turn into a life-changing thing, but it wasn't there yet. So it really convicted me. it made me realize, like, I have to be grateful to God because there are so many worse situations in here. And I think that actually did prepare me a little more for the NICU experience, but it was very hard still. But then an absolute miracle happened, and it was they changed no medicines, nothing like that. The doctors even attributed it to being a miracle. Matthew was healed in the next 2 days. We walked out late the third day with him. And the progress he made, Cincinnati Children's even said they didn't expect that, and they've never seen anything quite like it. It was incredible. Incredible. And it's obviously evidence that God does do miracles still. So, the thing I want you to take away from this, though, is not just my stories or, having pity on me or my family or anything, because we're in good shape now. Everything's going good, and we thank God every single day for that. But more of how quickly situations can change. Andrew was born a totally healthy, happy baby initially, and then right before we were leaving the hospital is when we found out something was wrong and that he had to go to the NICU. Matthew and we were all planning on going to a special event that weekend, the Reds game and everything. And all of a sudden, here we are in the hospital, and they even tell us, like, there's a chance you walk out without your son. The level of difficult that is unthinkable. So I want to do this fundraiser, not because of my own stories, not because of, making myself look good, not because I feel obligated or anything like that. I want to do it because I know how quick situations change. I know how quick it can be from normal day to all of a sudden you're in the hospital. I know how devastating it can be realizing that a special event, especially one as big as Christmas, can be ruined, can feel completely weighed down and terrible and just beaten upon just because you have to go to the hospital. I know the feeling of feeling devastated about what's going on with your child, but also facing the grief of everyone around you. I know that feeling. I want you all to have empathy with me. Some of you probably have similar stories. Some of you might even have worse stories. Some of you might be going through it now. And to you, I want to say, keep your head up. Keep praying. My prayers are with you. We pray for the NICU and PICU babies every single day. I pray that God brings you peace during this time. But I want to do something special. And this is going to be very simple. It's not going to be something super intricate. I'm not Mr. Beast. I'm not made of money. I don't have millions of dollars. I'm not Elon Musk. But what I can do is promise that I'm going to give money too. I'm going to give, and I'm going to try and match as much as I can on this. Realistically, I don't make a ton of money off this, so, I can't do much. But what I can do, I'm going to do. And I'm going to make sure that even if I get nothing for Christmas, which I'm totally fine with, I want to make sure I provide for other people's Christmases. My kids have tons of toys upstairs. We've bought stuff for them for Christmas already. I want to make sure now that I help another family who might be going through the hardest time in their life right now. I want to make sure that we can help them out in any way possible and put a smile on their faces during a time that they desperately need it. So if you could please help out in any way, shape, or form, however much you can donate, fantastic. If you can't donate, please pray for us. Pray for those NICU babies. Pray for the PICU babies. Please, just do whatever you can. We are going to try and make this a successful event. Something that can be helpful, can be a witness, can be a form of ministry. I just want to do something special for these kids because, like I said, I know how hard it can be. Not only on the kids, but on the parents. The parents must be devastated. They really are going through the hardest time of their lives at the time. And because of that, I want to do something special. So if you can give, great. If you can't, that's fine. Just pray for us. God bless you. I pray you have a great day, a Merry Christmas, and I'll see you later.